The stars stretched infinitely in all directions, a sea of shimmering lights as far as the eye could see. Zara, captain of the Scifi warship Dawnfire, was accustomed to these endless skies. But today, something felt different. The ship's sensors had detected a small, unregistered vessel drifting near a remote sector of space. It wasn't much, just a speck among the vastness of the galaxy, but it was enough to grab her attention. The crew had no idea why a human ship would be out here. Humans were a low-priority species in the Scifi Empire, their technology primitive compared to the vastness of galactic civilizations. Yet, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this was not just another simple human craft. There was something about it, something that made her hesitate. "Prepare to board and investigate," she ordered, her voice cold and authoritative. The crew obeyed without question, as they always did. The Dawnfire moved smoothly through the stars, its sleek design cutting through space like a predator in the night. The smaller human ship was easy to catch up to, and within moments, it was trapped in the Scifi warship's gravity field. Zara could feel her curiosity building. The human ship was in poor condition. The hull was damaged in several places, and its engine sputtered weakly. The crew of the Dawnfire managed to latch on to the ship with ease, and Zara was among the first to board the wrecked vessel. The human crew had abandoned ship long ago, but one figure remained. She found him in the small, cramped control room, an Earthling, standing by a broken console. He was tall, with messy brown hair and eyes that seemed to glint with a quiet determination. His clothes were torn, and there was a certain exhaustion in his posture, but there was something else as well, a spark, a resilience that made Zara pause. "You're alone?" she asked, her voice sharp but not unkind. The man turned, his gaze calculating but not fearful. He was not afraid of her, Zara realized. That was rare. Most humans were frightened when they encountered Scifi forces, often cowering or begging for mercy. But this one, he studied her with curiosity, his eyes searching, as if sizing her up. "I'm Liam Hayes," he replied, his voice rough but steady. "Looks like I'm the last one here." Zara raised an eyebrow. "I didn't expect a human to last this long. You don't seem typical." Liam smiled faintly. "I guess I'm not like most people." Zara crossed her arms, still eyeing him closely. She had heard stories of humans being surprisingly resourceful, even clever when it came to survival. But that didn't explain why this man had survived, let alone remained calm in the face of the Scifi. There had to be more to him than met the eye. "Why were you out here?" Zara asked, her voice colder now, more investigative. Liam hesitated for a moment before answering. "I was exploring, looking for something. Something important." Zara stepped closer, her sharp gaze never leaving him. "Looking for what?" Liam didn't answer right away, his eyes flickering toward the shattered window that looked out into space. Something that could help save Earth, or at least buy us some time. Zara felt a sudden shift in the air. There was more to this man's story, more than he was willing to share. She could sense his mind working, trying to weigh his options, yet there was no fear, only a quiet strength. "What's your plan now?" Zara asked, intrigued despite herself. Liam shrugged. "I don't know. I didn't expect to be caught by a ship like yours. But I guess I'll have to figure it out." Zara studied him for a long moment. She had no use for humans, and she certainly didn't need a human engineer to fix her ship or help her complete her mission. Yet, something told her that Liam Hayes wasn't just any human. He was different. "Tell me, Liam Hayes," Zara said slowly, "how would you feel about working for the Scifi Empire?" Liam's eyes widened, and for the first time, Zara saw a flicker of uncertainty. "I'd rather not." Zara smiled, the corners of her mouth curling slightly. "Then you may have no choice." Before Liam could respond, Zara gave the order to transport him aboard the Dawnfire. He didn't resist, but as the beam surrounded him, Zara couldn't help but feel an odd tug inside her. It wasn't something she had ever felt before. A sense of curiosity, maybe even a hint of something more. She shook it off quickly. This wasn't the time for distractions. She had a mission to focus on. But as Liam appeared on the Dawnfire, he looked at her with an expression that seemed to say, "We're not done here yet." Zara couldn't explain it, but she knew that something had shifted. The Earthling, this Liam Hayes, was about to become more important than she could have imagined. Zara stood at the command deck of the Dawnfire, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. The ship was sleek and powerful, capable of traveling across the galaxy with speed and precision. But today, it felt different. The human, Liam Hayes, was aboard, and though he wasn't a threat, Zara felt an uneasy shift in the air. She couldn't shake the feeling that this Earthling might play a larger role in her mission than she had anticipated. Liam was in the ship's engineering bay, quietly studying the ship's systems. Zara had ordered him there, hoping his knowledge of Earth technology might prove useful. She had no reason to believe he would be anything other than a temporary distraction, but she couldn't ignore the flicker of curiosity he had sparked in her. For once, she was uncertain. Her first officer, Taran, stood by her side, his eyes narrowing as he watched the human. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" he asked. "We don't know anything about him." Zara didn't answer immediately, her thoughts drifting back to the interrogation. Liam had proven himself more intelligent and resourceful than most humans she had encountered. His calm under pressure was something that stood out. There was no fear, only a quiet resolve. "He may be useful," Zara said finally, her voice steady. "He knows things about Earth that could help us. We need all the help we can get." Taran seemed unconvinced, but he said nothing more. He was loyal, and Zara appreciated that, but this was her decision. Down in the engineering bay, Liam was already at work. He had been given a set of blueprints for the Dawnfire's power systems, though they were far more advanced than anything humanity had developed. Still, Liam's mind was quick. He had spent years working as an engineer, repairing ships and machinery, often in dangerous situations. If anyone could figure this out, it was him. He worked for hours, making small adjustments, studying the energy systems, and attempting to understand how Scifi technology harnessed the power of a nearby star. He was no expert on alien technology, but he had always been a fast learner. There was one thing that fascinated him, though. He kept noticing strange patterns in the ship's core. It wasn't just the energy system that needed adjustments. There was something much bigger at play. Zara finally arrived in the engineering bay, her boots clicking sharply against the metal floor. She observed Liam as he worked, his brow furrowed in concentration. For a moment, she watched him in silence, wondering what was going through his mind. "Finding anything interesting?" she asked, her voice smooth. Liam looked up, his face breaking into a half-smile. "It's complicated. Your ship's technology is much more advanced than anything we have on Earth, but I think I've spotted a few areas that need adjustments. If you let me take a look at your power grid, I can stabilize the flow. It might help you with your energy crisis." Zara raised an eyebrow. "I wasn't aware we had an energy crisis." Liam's eyes sparkled with humor. "I didn't think you'd want to admit it. But every ship has its weaknesses. This one, well, it has its share." Zara was impressed. Most humans would have cowered in the face of a Scifi captain. But not Liam. He was confident, perhaps even too confident. Still, she couldn't deny that his sharp mind might be useful. His willingness to help, albeit for his own reasons, made him an interesting ally. "Fine," Zara said. "You can work on the power grid, but I expect results." Liam nodded, already turning back to his work. "No problem." Over the next few days, Zara and Liam found themselves working side by side. Though their communication was mostly professional, there were moments when they shared a rare smile or exchanged a glance. Zara was surprised to find that she was learning more from him than she had expected. His ideas were fresh, his solutions innovative. It was clear that he had a unique perspective on things, one that didn't come from years of formal training, but from real-world experience. One evening, after a long day of repairs, Zara found Liam in the mess hall, his hands wrapped around a steaming cup of tea. He looked out of the large window at the stars, his face thoughtful. "You miss Earth, don't you?" Zara asked, approaching him. Liam didn't look up right away. "I do," he said quietly. "It's a beautiful place, but it's not safe anymore. We're running out of time." Zara tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Liam finally turned to meet her gaze. "I've been searching for a way to save Earth. There's an energy field near your home planet that could give us the power to defend ourselves. But I'm not sure if it's too late." Zara's interest was piqued. "And you think you can help us with this?" Liam nodded. "Maybe, but I need more information. That's why I was out here." For the first time, Zara saw him not just as a tool for her mission, but as someone with a goal of his own. They were no longer just two strangers from different worlds. There was a shared sense of purpose, an unspoken understanding that they might be able to help each other. "We'll figure it out together," Zara said, surprising herself with the words. "We're not that different, you and I." Liam studied her for a moment, as if weighing her sincerity. Then he gave a small smile. "I'll hold you to that." Zara didn't respond. Instead, she turned her attention back to the stars. She had a mission to complete, but for the first time, it felt like something more than just duty. Perhaps, just perhaps, Liam Hayes wasn't the only one who had something to lose. The days passed quickly aboard the Dawnfire. Zara and Liam worked side by side, tackling the ship's systems and discussing ideas late into the night. They were an unlikely pair, an alien captain and a human engineer, but their partnership began to grow. Zara had always been focused on her mission, her people, and her duty, but now she found herself drawn to Liam, not just for his knowledge, but for something deeper she couldn't quite put her finger on. Liam, too, had begun to notice the changes. At first, he had seen Zara as a distant leader, a figure of power and authority. She was the captain of a warship, someone he couldn't afford to underestimate. But over time, as they worked together, he began to see the other side of her, the one that questioned, the one that cared. She wasn't just a cold, calculating commander. She was someone who carried the weight of a whole empire on her shoulders, someone who had to make impossible choices every day. One evening, after another long day of repairs, Zara found herself standing by the window in her private quarters, staring out at the stars. The vastness of space always made her feel small, as though her efforts to protect the Scifi Empire were insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe. But now she couldn't help but think about Liam. He was still so young, so full of life despite the challenges he had faced. He didn't seem to carry the burden of the galaxy the way she did. And yet, he fought for Earth with the same intensity she fought for her people. Zara sighed, her reflection blending with the stars outside. "What am I doing?" she thought. "This mission is bigger than any one person. It has to be." But a voice in her mind, one she rarely listened to, reminded her of something else. The strange, unspoken bond that had formed between her and Liam. They were from different worlds, different species, yet somehow they had come to rely on each other. That night, they were in the ship's common area, sharing a meal. It wasn't much, just simple food, but it was enough to keep them going. Zara was surprised to find that she was actually looking forward to their time together. They would talk about Earth, about Scifi history, and sometimes they would simply enjoy the quiet. It was something she hadn't realized she missed. Liam sat across from her, his eyes thoughtful as he spoke. "You know, I never imagined I'd end up here, working on a Scifi warship. I've always been an engineer, fixing things, helping people back on Earth. But now, I don't know what's going to happen to my planet. It's like we're all just waiting for something bad to happen." Zara studied him, the faintest trace of sadness in his voice. She had seen that same expression on the faces of her own people, the fear of what was to come. "I understand," she said softly. "The galaxy is a dangerous place, but you're not alone in this. I won't let Earth fall." Liam looked up at her, his gaze steady. "I believe you," he said quietly. "I think that's why I'm willing to help. You could have turned me over to the Empire, but you didn't. You're risking a lot for someone you don't even know." Zara's expression softened, and for a moment, she found herself looking at him differently. The barriers between them had always been clear, the captain and the prisoner, the Scifi and the human. But now, there was something else, something she couldn't deny. "I don't do this for you, Liam," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I do this for Earth, for the future. I believe in what you're trying to do. I believe we can work together." Liam smiled, a small, genuine smile that made Zara's heart skip a beat. "I'm glad you think that way. I don't think I could do this alone." The words hung between them, unspoken but understood. There was no turning back now. They were in this together, whether they liked it or not. Over the next few days, their bond grew even stronger. Zara began to open up more to Liam, sharing her thoughts on the challenges facing her people, the pressure of command, and the doubts that lingered in her mind. Liam, in turn, spoke of his life on Earth, his family, and his hope that they could somehow find a way to survive the coming storm. They were from different worlds, but the more they talked, the more they realized how much they had in common. One evening, as they stood together in the observation deck, watching the stars pass by, Zara felt a sense of calm she hadn't experienced in a long time. The ship's engines hummed softly beneath their feet, and for a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the universe. "Do you ever wonder what the future holds?" Liam asked, his voice almost a whisper. Zara nodded slowly. "Every day. But I've learned not to focus on it too much. The future is uncertain. All we can do is make sure we're ready for whatever comes." Liam turned to her, his eyes meeting hers. "And what if the future is different than we expect?" Zara didn't have an answer for that. She wasn't sure what the future would look like for her people, or for Liam, or for Earth. But in that moment, standing together with the stars as their backdrop, she realized that maybe it didn't matter. The future was uncertain, but what mattered was the present, the here and now. For the first time in a long while, Zara felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in this fight after all. The Dawnfire drifted quietly through the vast expanse of space, its sleek body cutting through the stars as Zara stared at the star maps displayed before her. There was so much she didn't know, so much about Earth, about Liam, and about the mysterious energy field he had spoken of. She had heard whispers of something similar before, but never in detail. Now it seemed as though everything she had been working for was leading to one destination. The field near Earth was no coincidence, and the more she thought about it, the more she realized how important it was. Liam had become an invaluable part of the crew, his knowledge of Earth's technology, and his quick thinking saving them more than once. Despite being a human, someone Zara would have never considered a true ally before, he had proven himself time and time again. She couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for him. He was brave, intelligent, and relentless, even in the face of uncertainty. The more they worked together, the more Zara began to question her own beliefs. She had always seen the galaxy in black and white. Scifi Empire on one side, everyone else on the other. But Liam had forced her to reconsider. Maybe there was more to this fight than just defeating enemies. Maybe the true enemy was something else entirely. As the days passed, Zara's thoughts were often interrupted by the sound of the ship's intercom. The crew had been working nonstop, trying to keep the ship in top condition while they headed toward the energy field. But something was off. The closer they got to their destination, the more uneasy Zara became. She couldn't put her finger on it, but she knew that something wasn't right. One evening, after a long day of repairs, Zara called Liam to her quarters. He had been busy working on the ship's power systems, but she needed answers. The truth about the energy field was elusive, and she could feel that the mission was leading them into danger. Liam entered the room, wiping his hands on a rag. "You wanted to talk." Zara gestured for him to sit. I need to know more about this energy field you're after. I've been looking through all the records, but there's not much. What exactly are we dealing with? Liam hesitated for a moment, then sat down across from her. It's not just any energy field. It's a relic, something ancient. It's called the core of the universe. It has the power to change everything, destroy or create, depending on who controls it. My people found it years ago, and we've been trying to understand its power ever since. Zara's eyes narrowed. And you think it can help save Earth? Liam nodded. I'm sure of it, but there's a catch. There are others who want it, and they're not as interested in saving Earth as I am. Zara leaned forward, her voice growing serious. Who else is after it? Liam looked away, his eyes darkening. The Scifi. They've known about it for years, but they've kept it secret. They've been searching for it too. But I don't think they know the full extent of its power. If they get their hands on it, Earth won't stand a chance. Zara's mind raced. The Scifi Empire was powerful, but they had always kept their focus on expansion, not on ancient relics. Yet here was Liam, a human, telling her that the fate of Earth, and possibly the galaxy, hung in the balance. She had to make a choice. I didn't know, she said quietly. We've never been told about this core of the universe. Liam met her gaze. No one knows, not even your highest commanders. It's a secret buried deep within the archives. Zara stood, walking over to the window, her thoughts swirling. The Scifi Empire had always prided itself on its control, its knowledge of the galaxy. But if there was something they didn't know, something hidden away, beyond their reach, it could change everything. And if the humans had found it first, it could be their last hope. I have to warn my people, Zara said finally, her voice firm. We need to secure the core. We can't let anyone else get to it before we do. Liam's eyes softened. I'm not asking you to betray your people. I'm asking you to help us save Earth. It's the only way we can stop the Scifi from using it against us. Zara turned to face him, her expression hardening. What do you expect from me, Liam? You think I can just turn on my own empire for the sake of your world? Liam looked at her, his face full of determination. I'm not asking you to turn on your empire. I'm asking you to do what's right. You're a captain, Zara. You understand the weight of responsibility. Sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that save the most lives. Zara's chest tightened as she thought of her people, her crew, the thousands of lives depending on her. She had always been taught that the Scifi were the future of the galaxy, that their strength and power were unmatched. But now, everything she had believed was being challenged. She wasn't sure what the right choice was, but she knew one thing for sure. Liam had become more than just an ally. He was now a partner, someone she couldn't afford to lose. We have to find the core first, Zara said, her voice steady. And then we'll decide what to do. Liam nodded. Agreed. As they stood together, the weight of the galaxy seemed to rest on their shoulders. Zara had made a choice, one that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the Scifi Empire as well. The battle for the core was only just beginning, and both sides would stop at nothing to control it. The Dawnfire sailed through the dark expanse of space, its course set for the coordinates Liam had shared. Time was running out. The Scifi were getting closer to the core of the universe, and if they reached it before Zara and Liam, everything they had worked for would be lost. The ancient power hidden in that energy field could change the galaxy forever, and they couldn't afford to let it fall into the wrong hands. Zara stood on the bridge, her mind focused on the mission. The crew was preparing for what could be their final approach. The energy field was in a remote part of the galaxy, a place few knew about and fewer still could navigate. But with Liam's help, they had found it. Now, they had to get there first. Liam had become indispensable. His knowledge of the energy field and the Scifi's interest in it was a critical part of their strategy. Over the past few days, they had gone over the details countless times, making sure they had covered every possible angle. But there was something that still troubled Zara, something she couldn't quite shake. She glanced at Liam, who was at the navigation station, checking coordinates once again. He looked calm, focused, too focused. He had been through so much already, and yet he never seemed to lose his determination. Zara couldn't help but admire him for it. He had already risked everything to help Earth, and now he was risking even more for something much larger. Liam met her gaze for a moment, as if sensing her thoughts. "We're getting close," he said, his voice low but steady. Zara nodded, her eyes narrowing as she studied the map of stars before her. "Are you sure this is the right place? No mistakes?" Liam gave her a reassuring smile. "I'm sure. I studied these coordinates for years. This is it." A tense silence settled between them, the weight of their mission heavy in the air. Zara knew that whatever happened next would shape the fate of both their worlds. They were about to face the unknown, and neither of them could predict what they would find. Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the ship, cutting through the quiet. Zara's eyes snapped to the control panel, her heart racing. The ship's sensors had detected a powerful signal coming from the direction of the energy field. Someone else was out there. "The Scifi," Zara muttered under her breath. "They found us." Liam didn't hesitate. "We need to move faster. They won't give up easily." Zara's mind raced. The Scifi had advanced ships, faster than anything Earth, or even the Dawnfire could handle. But they had the advantage of knowing the field's location, and they had no intention of letting it slip away. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Zara ordered sharply, her voice commanding. "All hands, to your stations." The crew scrambled into action, each person moving with the precision of a well-trained team. Zara's heart pounded in her chest as she felt the ship speed up, her thoughts racing along with it. They had to outrun the Scifi, but more than that, they had to beat them to the core. The race had begun, and the stakes had never been higher. Liam was already at the helm, his hands flying over the controls as he adjusted their trajectory. "We can't outrun them forever. We need to find a way to disable their sensors." Zara's mind worked quickly, thinking of their limited options. The Scifi ships were powerful, but they relied heavily on their advanced technology. If they could disrupt their systems long enough, they might have a chance. "Set a course for the asteroid field nearby," Zara instructed. "We can use it for cover. If we make it through, we can get close enough to disable their sensors." Liam didn't question her, trusting her judgment. He quickly adjusted the course, and the Dawnfire surged forward, heading toward the asteroid field. The ship rocked as it made its way through the debris, dodging massive rocks and debris that came out of nowhere. Zara could feel the tension in the air, the crew's nerves on edge. They were running out of time. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently as a blast hit them from behind. The force sent Zara staggering forward, but she quickly regained her balance. The Scifi weren't playing around. They had already started firing. "Return fire," Zara shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Get us out of here, Liam." Liam didn't flinch. He punched in the controls, maneuvering the ship through the tight spaces between asteroids. The Dawnfire dodged another blast, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. Zara could hear the ship's hull creaking under the strain. They couldn't take many more of these hits. "We're almost there," Liam said, his voice filled with determination. "Just a little more, Captain." Zara's eyes stayed locked on the view ahead. The asteroid field was dense, and there was no way the Scifi would be able to follow them without risking severe damage. But the clock was ticking. They needed to get close enough to the core before the Scifi could catch up. Suddenly, the asteroid field began to thin, and the energy field came into view. It was beautiful, more massive than anything Liam had described, with shimmering waves of light pulsing in every direction. But Zara's focus didn't waver. They were here. The core was within reach. "Ready the team for the landing," she ordered. "We're going in." As the Dawnfire hurtled toward the core, Zara's heart beat faster. This was the moment of truth. Would they be able to claim the core before the Scifi? Would they be able to use its power for the good of Earth? The fate of the galaxy was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they were in this together. The Dawnfire shuddered as it entered the gravitational pull of the core's energy field. Zara's knuckles were white as she gripped the railing of the command chair. The ship's systems hummed louder with each passing moment, their instruments detecting massive shifts in energy. The core wasn't just a power source, it was a living thing, pulsing with a force beyond anything Zara had ever encountered. Liam was at her side, his face tense as he watched the readouts. "This is it, Captain. The energy here is off the charts. We need to move carefully, or we could risk destabilizing the whole field." Zara nodded. "We don't have much time. The Scifi will be close behind us. We need to find the heart of the field, where the core is strongest. If we get there first, we can disable their ship's tracking systems long enough to get a head start." The plan had been simple in theory: get to the core, secure the energy, and prevent the Scifi from gaining control. But now, as Zara stared into the swirling mass of light and energy, the weight of what they were about to do settled heavily on her shoulders. The core was ancient, a force of unimaginable power. And if the wrong hands controlled it, the consequences could be catastrophic. The Dawnfire cut through the pulsating waves of energy, its shields flickering as it encountered a surge of power. The crew worked quickly to keep the ship steady, but it was clear that the energy was unpredictable. Each shift in the field caused the ship to tremble, as though the core itself was aware of their presence. "Hold on," Liam shouted as another shockwave rocked the ship. The hull groaned under the strain, but the Dawnfire held together. "We can't keep this up for long," Zara said through gritted teeth. "We need to locate the core's center and stabilize our position." "We're close," Liam said, his eyes scanning the readings. "It's just ahead." Zara's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the coordinates. There it was, a vast, glowing orb at the center of the energy field. It was more magnificent than anything she could have imagined. The core of the universe pulsed like a living heart, radiating power that felt almost tangible. The ship approached cautiously, every sensor warning them of the immense energy levels surrounding the core. Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This was the key to everything. The power to change the course of history. She couldn't afford to fail now. Suddenly, the ship's systems beeped urgently, pulling Zara's attention away from the core. "The Scifi ship is incoming," one of the crew members shouted. "They've breached the asteroid field. They'll be here in minutes." Zara's eyes narrowed. "Prepare for battle. We'll need every advantage we can get." Liam looked at her, his expression grim. "They won't hesitate to destroy us. We'll have to act fast if we want to secure the core." Zara felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. The Scifi would stop at nothing to control the core, and if they succeeded, it could mean the end of Earth and the entire galaxy as they knew it. "Set course for the core," Zara commanded. "Once we're within range, we'll deploy the containment systems and secure the energy." The Dawnfire surged forward, heading directly for the glowing heart of the energy field. The Scifi ship was getting closer, its sensors locked on their position. Zara's mind raced. She had to make the right move at the right moment, or they would be lost. Liam moved to a side console, working quickly to adjust the ship's energy shield. "We're not going to make it without some kind of distraction. I can't shield us from both the core's energy and the Scifi's firepower at the same time." Zara's eyes flicked to the energy field, then back to Liam. "Do what you have to do. We'll hold them off." The Dawnfire approached the core at full speed, its shields flickering under the pressure. Zara could feel the pulse of the core, as if it was calling to them. The ship groaned as it passed through a final barrier. And then, with a sudden burst of energy, they were within reach of the core. "Deploy the containment systems now," Zara shouted. Liam activated the ship's containment field, sending a wave of energy toward the core. For a brief moment, everything seemed still. The Dawnfire hung in the air, suspended in a bubble of energy, as the core's power rippled around them. Then, the Sireni ship appeared in the distance, its weapons primed. Zera's heart sank as she saw the battle lines being drawn. "Prepare to fire," she barked. "We'll need to stop them before they get too close." The Sireni ship fired first, a blinding beam of energy streaking toward them. Zera reacted instinctively, turning the ship sharply to the side. The blast missed by inches, but the Dawnfire was thrown off course by the shockwave. Liam grabbed the controls, steadying the ship as they regained their position. "We can't keep dodging like this," he said urgently. "We need to disable their weapons. Fast." Zera nodded. "I know. Target their engines. If we can slow them down, we can buy more time." With a deep breath, Zera gave the order. The Dawnfire fired back, hitting the Sireni ship's engines with precise shots. The enemy ship jolted, its speed significantly reduced. But the Sireni weren't done yet. They were coming for them, full force. As the battle raged on, Zera couldn't help but feel the tension rising. They were so close to the core, but now, the real fight had begun. The Dawnfire shuddered as another blast from the Sireni ship hit its shields. The power of the core pulsed around them, but Zera knew that the battle outside was just as important as securing the energy inside. They were moments away from reaching the full power of the core, but the Sireni were relentless. Every second mattered. Zera stood at the command station, her eyes fixed on the approaching enemy ship. The Dawnfire was damaged, but still operational. The crew worked quickly to keep the ship stable, but it was clear the fight was far from over. The core's energy was building, and the Sireni knew it was only a matter of time before the ship's systems were overwhelmed by the sheer power around them. "Liam," Zera called, her voice tight with urgency. "We need to disable their weapons before they can fire again. If they hit us one more time, we might not be able to make it out." Liam nodded, his face set in determination. He had been at the controls for hours, guiding the Dawnfire through the chaos. Now it seemed like everything came down to this, one final, decisive move. "I'm on it," he replied, his hands flying over the controls as he adjusted their course. The Dawnfire swerved to the left, narrowly avoiding a direct hit from another blast. The Sireni ship was close, too close for comfort. Zera turned to the crew, her voice strong. "Prepare the launchers. We need to take out their weapons, now." As the crew scrambled to load the ship's cannons, Zera's thoughts raced. She knew that the fate of the galaxy rested in their hands. If they could just secure the core, they could stop the Sireni from using its power for destruction. But would they be able to control it? Could anyone? The core's energy was unlike anything Zera had ever encountered. It was ancient, powerful, and unpredictable. And as they got closer, she could feel its pull, a force that seemed to call to her, urging her to take control. It was tempting, more than anything she could have imagined. But she couldn't be certain if it was the right choice. Was the core meant to be used or protected? Could they really handle such power? Zera's mind was torn between two worlds, the power to save Earth and the risk of losing everything. She had spent her whole life following the rules, believing in the Sireni Empire's mission. But now, with the core within reach, she was questioning everything. Suddenly, the Sireni ship fired again, a direct hit that sent the Dawnfire lurching forward. The crew shouted as alarms blared, and Zera's heart raced. They had no more time to waste. The Sireni would not stop. This was the moment. "Liam, now," Zera shouted. Liam didn't hesitate. He fired the ship's cannons, hitting the Sireni ship's weapon systems with precise shots. The enemy ship faltered, its weapon systems beginning to flicker and fail. But Zera knew that the Sireni wouldn't give up that easily. They would fight until the very end. "We need to get to the core now," Zera urged, her voice sharp. "They'll be back up in minutes." Liam adjusted the controls again, guiding the Dawnfire straight for the glowing heart of the energy field. The ship's engines roared as they closed in, and for a moment, everything seemed to slow down. The core's light bathed the ship in its glow, and Zara felt a deep, almost overwhelming connection to it. This was it, the power she had been searching for. But as they neared the core, Zara's mind flashed with doubt. What would they do with this power? Could they really control it? Could she? She looked at Liam, who was focused on the task at hand, and then at the crew, all waiting for her decision. They trusted her. They had followed her through every challenge, and now they depended on her more than ever. Prepare to activate the core's energy, Zara called, her voice steady, though her mind raced. Liam nodded and made the final adjustments. The Dawnfire glided closer to the core, and the ship's systems hummed with anticipation. As they reached the center of the energy field, a surge of light filled the entire ship. The core's power seemed to surround them, offering them the strength to reshape the galaxy. The choice was theirs. But with great power came even greater responsibility. Activate the containment field, Zara ordered, her voice clear. Liam hit the button, and the Dawnfire's containment field locked into place, securing the energy from the core. The ship shook violently as the power flowed into the field, but they had done it. The core's energy was under their control, at least for now. The Scifi ship, still recovering from the damage, attempted one final assault, but it was too late. The Dawnfire had the advantage. The Scifi were out of time. Zara exhaled slowly, her body tense from the adrenaline. We did it. But as the ship floated near the core, Zara couldn't help but feel the weight of what they had just done. They had control of the core now, but for how long? Would they be able to use it to save Earth, or would it become a weapon of destruction, as the Scifi had intended? She looked to Liam, who had a tired but satisfied smile on his face. It's not over yet, he said quietly. Now we have to make sure we use it wisely. Zara nodded. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. They had a long road ahead of them. The core had the power to change everything. But whether they would use it for good or for ill was a choice that would define the future of the galaxy. As the Dawnfire drifted peacefully in the heart of the energy field, Zara made her decision. They would protect the core, study its power, and use it only when the time was right. The road ahead would be uncertain, but she knew one thing for sure. They would not let the Scifi, or anyone else, take control of the core again. The battle for the future had just begun.